The recently adopted strategic plan for the Fargo Public Schools states that we will use the 21st century skills of collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking, otherwise known as the 4 C's, to provide the structure for teaching and learning. Not only are all adults within the Fargo Public Schools expected to model the 4 C's, all students should be demonstrating relevant 21st century skills in their coursework, while all staff members provide intentional feedback about how students are performing on those skills. Today, I'll be sharing a Fargo Public Schools developed tool called Compass that can assist in the data collection and monitoring of progress for each of the 4 C's. Classroom teachers initiate Compass for their students by logging into the hub and selecting Compass underneath Workspaces. Your current projects are listed on the top of the screen, and the opportunity to create a new project is found at the bottom. From the course drop-down, the classroom teacher selects with which course the rubric will be used. If you teach more than one course, say marine biology and microbiology, they'll both be listed here. Also, keep in mind if you teach more than one period of the selected course, the project will be available to all students in all periods for that course. After selecting your course, you will provide the name of the project in which students will evaluate theirs and perhaps their peers' use of specific 21st century skills. Typically, the project name in Compass mirrors the unit or project being used for instruction. The last selection that is required is the rubric. From the available options, select the rubric that best aligns with the work for the instructional project. The rubrics listed come from the work of the Metro Area Committee as well as from the Fargo Public Schools elementary and secondary facilitators. If there is a rubric that you wish to see added, please visit with one of the facilitators about your request. After selecting the rubric, you will see it in its entirety below. If any of the rows don't apply to your project, you can remove them from the rubric student seat by selecting the checkbox in front of the rubric row heading. If you decide this isn't the rubric you wanted, you can select a different rubric from the drop-down. And then once you've decided that the rubric meets your needs, go ahead and select Submit. Once the project has been submitted, it'll appear in your current projects at the top of the screen. From here, you can change the name of the project. You can print a copy of the rubric, or you can make changes to the rubric rows. If you decide this isn't the rubric that you want, you can go ahead and also delete the project completely. You'll notice the broadcast box is automatically selected when your project is submitted. This means the rubric is immediately available to your students for completion. If you prefer to not have it available, unselect Broadcast until you're ready for the students to complete the rubric. We'll visit about the remaining columns shortly. Now you're ready for your students to reflect on their work. Let's walk through Compass from their perspective. Students access Compass by logging into the Learning Portal and selecting ePortfolio from the left side of their screen. Once here, the Compass tab is the second from the left. Students navigate to the Projects drop-down in order to see the projects that their teachers have made available to them. The course which is assigned the project is listed behind the project name. The student would select the project that requires evaluation. Most often, students complete self-evaluations. To do this, the student must begin typing his or her own name in the Add Students box. Be careful not to do this too quickly because the system will begin searching the name after a couple of letters are entered. The system will search by either the first or last name. The student selects his name, and then in the reflection source would select Self. After selecting Submit, the student's name appears in the table. Select the link under the heading Eval, and it will bring up the rubric. The student reads and selects the areas they feel best describe their work. Each time a selection is made, The system automatically updates, and it's noted with this green check mark and timestamp. After all selections are made, because the system updates immediately, there is no need to have a final submit button. If a student is being asked to provide a reflection for the other students in the project group, he would go back to the Add Students box and begin searching for one of the peers. This time, the reflection source would be peer. At this point, Larry Lobster is providing anonymous feedback to Carla Karp. Larry would continue to do this for each of the students in his group. The system is also set up to allow students to enter feedback from the teacher. This may be done as part of a student conference or in a written format. To enter the teacher's data, Larry would search for himself and then select Teacher as the reflection source. Each student is able to view their progress on the 21st century skills by selecting this button, How Am I Doing So Far report. Initially, the student sees a snapshot of their strengths and challenges. Their student photo is placed on a continuum demonstrating their progress towards proficiency. This is a combination of self, peer, and teacher evaluations from all classes. To drill down, the student can select the folder in front of the rubric name to see the specific row titles and the evaluation markings associated with each. Digging deeper, the student can see the markings for each evaluator by project. Some teachers prefer to enter in their teacher evaluations themselves. To do this, back on the teacher screen, select the period for which you wish to enter the data, and then select Go underneath the teacher input. By selecting the link at the top of each column, the information about that particular rubric row will be shared. Select a score underneath that link, and then you'll be asked whether you wish to fill in that score for all the students. By saying OK, that score will fill down, and any changes that need to be made for particular students can be done so. There are a couple of reports available for teachers at this time. Reports are viewed by selecting the period and then selecting Go underneath the report that the teacher wishes to see. The first report, cleverly named Report 1, demonstrates for each project the number of rows completed as well as a rubric average. Perhaps more telling are the details provided when the teacher selects the individual student's ID. Here, the teacher is able to see how the student evaluated himself compared to his peers and the teacher. Report number 2 takes the detailed information of report number 1 and puts it in a class report. Development continues to take place on the reports, and there are likely to be changes and enhancements as we continue moving forward. Thank you for taking time to learn a little bit about Compass and how we can continue to support students in developing 21st century life skills. If you have questions or would like support with Compass, please contact Jen Saar at 446-3063.